www.theleaguefantasyfootball.wordpress.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at The League Podcast and on Twitter at The League Pod. All of our podcasts will be posted on SoundCloud at The League Podcast as well.
Are you ready? Oh, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Let's do this thing, man.
The League Podcast.
Yeah.
Good morning, guys. You got J&D here with The League Podcast.
Yes, we got an exciting weekend, Dill.
Oh, man.
Not only do we got some good football, but we're going to be attending a Rams-Packers game in LA, baby.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
It's going to be a great time. Obviously, so first time you've seen the Packers play, right?
First time ever. I might shed a tear. I might cry. I also am going to be so scared any time the Rams come after Aaron Rodgers or, Devontae Adams. I just want to be able to look because I can't see them get hurt in real life. I'll be heartbroken.
At least they got that 1 week of
definitely.
rest, extra week of
They
rest
needed
before extra prep. I mean, I think if anyone could beat the Rams at this point, it's the Packers coming off this bye week with Aaron Rodgers obviously at quarterback.
Yeah, there's always a chance with A-Rod, and I can't wait. I hope it's a battle. I really do.
Man, I know. I hope it's
and either way, we're just leaving that place like, damn, that was a great game,
Exactly.
So and that's what we should expect. But 7-0, I mean, that's mind-boggling to think about. Congrats, by the way.
Thanks, man.
Happy for your team.
It was a rough, first half of my life, watching the Rams.
I think a little more than half.
Yeah, man. It was a long time coming. So really happy that the Rams are doing so well. But anyways, let's get into these matchups, man. We got a lot of matchups to cover. We'll touch base real quick on Thursday Night Football last night. Texans 42, the Dolphins 23. I mean, Deshaun Watson, is he back to his old form?
Looks like it, and it's funny because it was a one-possession game for all of about 30 seconds. They just took off. I feel like every time the Texans got the ball, they were able to pass and shred. Not only pass, Lamar Miller had a great game on the ground as well. The Dolphins' defense, I think just on the short week, it was a tough week for them. Their defense looked beat up. But on the other side, the Texans' defense got beat up. They lost like 2 or 3 corners last night, so I was worried that the Dolphins were going to be able to really pound the Texans. But J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, they're too good. That was a great game by the Texans. And yes, Deshaun Watson is back. There is a league we're in that someone dropped Deshaun Watson. Unbelievable. I mean, he's looks healthy now. They're doing everything they can on the Texan side to make sure of that. Obviously, that's their franchise there. So. It was an exciting game to watch. And the catches, DeAndre Hopkins catches, the one fluke, it looked like a Madden glitch play where Jakeem Grant caught the ball and then it popped in the air 10 yards down the line. Devontae Parker caught the game. Speaking of Devontae Parker, probably going to be the hottest waiver wire pickup going into this week. 6 catches for like 140 yards. Didn't score, but had a career game. So
almost 20 points with no touchdown. I mean, I love that.
His agent is sitting on the couch with his feet up like, I told you so.
Right?
So
speaking of receivers, Will Fuller, possible torn ACL.
And it's sad because this was at the very end of the game. It was like they could have just ran the ball out, I feel like. And Will Fuller just does his thing, trying to take the top off the defense. In the end zone, you could just see he kind of stepped and landed weird, and you could see his knee just kind of move weird. I saw him walk off, and I didn't think it would be anything super serious. So it's not positive it's torn yet, but hopefully it doesn't come back. Doing
MRIs today, Adam Schefter tweeted that they do fear that it was a torn ACL. So we'll see later on today.
We'll see.
In our next podcast, we'll definitely update you on that.
So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on Kiki because Kiki got dropped in a crap ton of leagues last week. So if that's the case, Will Fuller could possibly be out for a year. Kiki is going to be able to flourish in this offense, in my opinion. I mean, they're rolling right now, so Kiki could be huge.
And then Kenyon Drake
finally on the other side,
got the ball.
Looking really smooth. Kenyon Drake's looking like
what you drafted him to be.
Exactly.
Obviously, Frank Gore is going to continue stealing the touches, but
they're using their roles perfectly. Like they're using Frank Gore on the first down, just pounding it, getting 5 or 6 yards. Second, third down, they're giving it to Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake, I mean, he really looked fluid and smooth and looked like a hard runner.
Very elusive running back compared to Frank Gore's ground and pound, but. Awesome game. I love those high-scoring games on Thursday to get the week rolling.
It either makes or breaks it for you. Like
exactly.
Oh man,
if you're on the opposite side of the spectrum, like I'm playing Kenyon Drake, so I'm a little bummed about it, but it is what it is. So
I'm playing against the Houston Texans. They only had 4 points, so I'll take that.
Beautiful.
Thank you. But one more interesting subject to watch for the Dolphins, at least, is the quarterback situation. Brock has been playing semi-decent, not great by any means. Obviously, Brocktober's coming to an end here within the next week. I think it's time for Tannehill to come back, take over this team. He is probably going to play next week, so look out for that. That might change this offense in a good way, I think. Like I said, Brocktober had 1 month a year, so it's time to end. But anywho, Dill, we got bye weeks. Obviously, we got 4 big teams on bye weeks, so a lot of guys that we're going to be able to talk about today. Who are the bye weeks this week, Dill?
Yeah, we got the Chargers, Falcons, Titans, and Cowboys. So
a lot of fantasy points on the bench right there.
Yeah, it's really good, obviously, for Melvin Gordon, for instance, to get that extra week of rest, and then Amari Cooper on the Cowboys now to get that extra week of prep. So I think next week, you'll be able to fire him right in your lineup. I tried trading for him in our keeper league and turned down real bad.
I am actually happy. I drafted him in a couple leagues, and I'm excited to sit on him and just kind of watch what he's going to do with that Cowboys offense. But, yeah, so with these bye weeks, let's jump into the games that actually are going to be playing.
Yeah, we got another London
early
game,
one.
6:30.
Love it.
Do not forget to set your lineups. If there's any guys on the edge, then, you got to keep an eye on that. But
how many of you kept Melvin Gordon in your lineup last week?
I know I did.
About 50 I did.
75% of people, because he was not announced injured until literally Saturday night.
Oh.
Saturday night, they said he might not. He's questionable. Then Sunday morning, he was out at 6 a.m. So that sucks. So 6:30 the game starts. In this game, though, like I said, I don't think there's anyone that's that close to being on the edge that's not going to play. But Eagles at Jaguars. This is Jaguars' second home. Let's go position by position today. We'll start off with the quarterbacks. We got Carson Wentz on the Eagles against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have Carson Wentz in a few leagues. I'm deploying him,
of course.
It's hard not to. He's definitely lower end quarterback 1 this week because of the matchup, but AJ Bouye in a walking boot might not even play. So that's a huge upgrade to this Eagles offense,
Well, you didn't even mention DJ Hayden, their slot corner, already ruled out for the game. So, Hayden, AJ Bouye is projected probably not to play. Think about Ramsey covering Alshon all day, but I'm looking at Aguilar in this game like he's about to eat, because if you look at these,
or Ertz,
I of course Ertz just because of his target share, but this Jags defense, they have great linebackers and great safeties. You know what I mean? So they do a really good job locking down tight ends. So I think their main focus is going to be a Zach Ertz. Jalen Ramsey's covering Alshon. I'm telling you guys, Aguilar's day is coming. He's gonna have a day in London. I'm promising you that without a doubt. So
start Aguilar.
I really believe you can start Aguilar this week. You can't sit Alshon. He's been too good to you. Jalen Ramsey's been a little shaken up. He got a little torn up by DeAndre Hopkins last week. So we'll see him traveling on the road. Like you said, though, Jaguars, this could look like a different team. They love playing in London, so we'll see.
Yeah, what do you think about Blake Bortles?
On the other end, Blake Bortles, he's coming off, obviously, his worst game to date.
Couple in a row.
They sat him. But we got to look at, too, his offensive line. He lost his starting left tackle, Cam Robinson, and then the second string went in. He's now out as well. So they're on their third string left tackle right now. The guy has no time. He has no time to get the ball out of his hand. And then obviously he tries to be elusive, and look what happens. It's no bueno for him.
Benched.
But he gets benched, exactly. So with that being said, I think due to the O-line, it's too hard for me to ever start Blake Bortles unless I'm in a 2-quarterback deep league and bye weeks are playing a factor. But
like you said, though, he balls out in London.
He does, so fantasy-wise, it's scary to start any of these guys, because if you look at how he's distributing the ball, he's thrown the ball 44 times to Dante Moncrief, 42 times to Keelan Cole, 39 times to Yeldon, and 38 times to D.D. Westbrook. You don't know who he's going to get the ball to.
Yeah,
so
I'm not deploying any of them.
For me, I'm not confident, this is going to be DD's week, or this is going to be Keelan's week, because it could be any of their weeks. And honestly, out of all of them, I think Dante Moncrief is the biggest sleeper and the biggest guy to own in this offense.
I mean, he's the one leading him in targets.
Targets, and he just is built like that number one.
Number one deep receiver, get those plays. But let's move on to the running backs. We got, on the Eagles side of the ball, RBBC.
Oh, big time.
And it looks like on the Jaguars side of the ball, it might turn into that RBBC. But let's start with the Eagles. We got Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, and not even to mention Josh Adams, who got a decent amount of run last week. Yeah. So once again, this is one of those backfields that I want nothing to do with.
Seriously.
I really want nothing to do with. But if you're desperate and you need to play, I mean, who are you going with out of these three guys?
I'm going with Wendell Smallwood. I like Smallwood because of his health right now. They look confident getting him the ball. He did have the most percentage of snaps with 52% of the snaps last week. He only had 37 yards, but he had a much better day than it shows on paper. He had a huge screen pass that went to, I think, the 1 yard line that got called back by penalty. I believe he scored last week and got called back by a penalty. So with that being said, he could have had a huge day last week. I think they're confident with Smallwood, and this, like we said, we don't know what to expect from the Jaguars. They could be scoring, so I could see them using Smallwood and throwing the ball to him. I like Smallwood this week, personally. And like you said, though, I want nothing to do with this backfield, but I do own both of them in a couple leagues just because I wanted to snag them and see. So for me, I'm going Smallwood. What about you?
Oh, man. Once again, I think we had the same conversation last week about which one, and I think, obviously Corey Clement, I think, has more potential to do better, but they seem to like Wendell Smallwood, and they're giving him that early down work and even the pass catching work. So I mean, they're just splitting the ball up, and it's tough to say. But once again, I'll probably go Smallwood as well over Clement until Clement is, since he started in the league, seems like a complimentary back and not necessarily a number one back, you know? So I think he's going to stick with that role, and they're going to roll with these two guys and just keep doing what they're doing. So, you can't expect anything more or less of either of them.
What about flipping to the Jag side?
Yeah.
So they just acquired Carlos Hyde for a 5th-round pick, and they have TJ Yeldon back there who's been playing solid as could be. Obviously, there's questions about Leonard Fournette. They're going into a bye week next week after this game. So with that being said, it looks like it's going to be an RBBC. They're going to split the usage between Carlos Hyde and TJ Yeldon, but we still don't know. Carlos Hyde still might not even play this week, so monitor that. And if he does, I like Yeldon more in this game due to them, I think, having to pass the ball and dish it to Yeldon, not so much be able to just pound the rock with Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, I think that Carlos Hyde is going to be like that first, second down back like Frank Gore, pounding it, and then Yeldon comes in because Yeldon hasn't been the best rusher. He's been catching a lot of balls, That's his strength, definitely. So if I'm rolling with either of them, 100% I'm going with Yeldon over Hyde until Hyde shows me something. If you're desperate, though, and you need a running back play this week, I mean, Hyde might get a touchdown for you, and you might, there was some stat I was listening, or podcast I was listening to, and they had mentioned that Hyde running behind the Browns offensive line, their rank was like 28th in the NFL per yards before you getting touched. The Jaguars are 4th in the NFL for yards being touched, meaning, they're getting touched at X amount of yards, down the line. But
so Jaguars are worse?
Better.
It's so odd.
Yeah, so when it comes to rushing, their offensive line is a better rushing team than the Browns. And, obviously Carlos Hyde, with opportunity, did pretty well. So if he's one of those guys that needs a lot of carries to do anything with it. So just depends on what happens there. But once again, Yeldon is the guy I'm going with.
Nice. So I kind of briefly touched base on the Jaguars receivers, talking about the distribution between Blake Bortles, and then also I preached about Aguilar as well.
The big thing that I want to bring up about the Jaguars receivers is you don't know what's going to happen, but the Eagles are beat up on defense, especially at the corner position. So
that's why I think they're a great candidate to make a move before the trade deadline for one of these corners on the market.
They need it.
They need it.
They need it if they want to continue to win and make the playoffs and try to defend their title. But tight ends, obviously Jaguars don't have anybody. Zach Ertz is a play every week.
Yeah.
What about Dallas Goedert? He's kind of getting plays here and there, but
not someone that I'm I've started him one time this year and I dropped him and didn't want anything to do with him after, just because Ertz is too good, and like I said, the Jaguars linebackers I think are good enough to lock not only Ertz down, but I definitely think they have enough to lock Goedert down as well. So not anything there. Obviously, defenses, you're starting Jaguars every single time you can because they're that good, but they do got injuries, so it's a little sucks for any Jaguars owners.
At any given day, they can score 20 points for you, though.
Eagles D, you playing it all?
Yeah, I'm deploying them. You're playing Blake
I think you're
Bortles.
getting sacks, fumbles, all that. Personally, I think Eagles win this game strictly due to the better quarterback. I think Carson Wentz just has the edge here, obviously, and both defenses are going to struggle a bit, and I think that, like I said, Eagles and Carson Wentz have the advantage.
I'm taking Eagles and Carson Wentz as well, my brother. Moving on to the next game, Broncos at Chiefs. Chiefs, you're starting everybody. Broncos, you're not starting anybody. I'm just kidding. But seriously, Chiefs, I think you can deploy all their players besides, maybe Sammy Watkins is the only one you're kind of questionable about. But it's such a high firepower offense that, I think it's deploy time.
Oh my gosh, Mahomes makes everybody better. And
Yeah.
this is the week 4 matchup. Again, they came back. The Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs came back in the fourth quarter down 10. This was the game, week 4, that Pat Mahomes became a household name. Promise you that because of this game. And, some of these guys on the Chiefs went off, so I can't wait to dive into this. Why don't we start right with the quarterbacks, no?
Yeah.
Obviously, Pat Mahomes versus...
Case Keenum.
Who do you got?
Obviously, I'm going with Pat Mahomes. But, Case Keenum, Chiefs have not been good on defense.
Horrible
Yeah.
pass defense.
They looked good last week against the Bengals, but this isn't a primetime game. I think that, Case Keenum does decent, and he's definitely a streamer this week if you have one of these quarterbacks on a bye week.
Without a doubt. I couldn't agree more.
So, running backs, let's move on to there, yeah?
Yeah, no, let's start with the Broncos
Yeah.
because we are looking at Philip Lindsay, who looks like he's going to have a lion's share this weekend if Royce Freeman doesn't play. Royce is practicing, but we'll see if they want to keep him sidelined or whatnot. I love Lindsay this week. I was talking to Tyler Cederoth about trading for Lindsay this week because I think he's going to have a big game.
Definitely.
And just watching this guy run, he is just explosive. I'm loving everything.
He runs like he's 6'4", 250 pounds.
Straight up. And then as light and quick on his toes, like what's his name? Oh my gosh. Darren Sproles. I don't know why I had a brain fart there. But anywho, I go Philip Lindsay in this game all day, but then you switch to the Chiefs side. You look at what Kareem Hunt posted last time they played. It was unbelievable. Really unbelievable.
Posted?
Posted. Like, he just had a big day.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, like, social media or something.
No.
But, yeah, man, I mean, he's been hot lately. He's been really hot. I don't see anyone taking him out of their lineup. Real quick on the Broncos, if Royce Freeman doesn't play, do you think that Devontae Booker can get some game in here because of them maybe getting down by a lot, being that third down pass catching back?
Nope.
I think he can definitely get you some points. If the Chiefs go up big on the Broncos, I think that they will deploy Booker, and they're calling
So
him
good.
Book Mode.
So good he can't remember his name, baby.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not good at all, but he's a good pass catcher, and they put him in on third down.
Yeah, but so is Lindsey's just so freaking good, and obviously he's gonna have to get work because they're gonna have to take Lindsey out. But I just don't see him getting more than 3 fantasy points this week.
Really?
Devontae Booker will get less than 3 fantasy
So
points.
2 catches for 10 yards?
Less. 1 catch for 6.
So 1.6.
And then maybe 4 rushing yards. on 2
Anyways,
attempts.
we'll move on to the receivers.
Wasted time.
Broncos receivers we'll start off with, obviously,
Why don't you
Emmanuel
take the
Sanders.
4? You got all of them.
Well, not anymore. Emmanuel Sanders, number 3 fantasy receiver right now in NFL. You're starting him on a weekly basis, no doubt about it, no matter what the matchup is. Demaryius Thomas, Courtland Sutton. Those guys, Courtland Sutton, in my opinion, is catching up to Demaryius Thomas, and sooner than later, I think he will overtake that outside position, be that number 1 guy. Demaryius Thomas still, though, is hanging in there. He's scoring 10 to 14 points a week for you, which you can't complain about in your flex. But he's definitely not the Demaryius Thomas of the past. And if I'm starting anyone, it's obviously Emmanuel Sanders. And I'm going to put Demaryius Thomas in my flex. Courtland Sutton, still, you're kind of depending on touchdowns at the moment. But we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Rest of the season, I like Courtland Sutton more than I do Demaryius Thomas, especially with their schedule at the end of the year being cake.
I hear you.
But
No, I mean, that's it for them. I mean, I definitely think both receivers are definitely startable. And just because of garbage time, I feel like this is going to be a high-scoring game and that they're going to be able to get points regardless just because they're trying to score at the end of the game. So I like both receivers on both sides, even a Sammy Watkins, just because you never know. Mahomes makes everybody in this offense successful. So I like all plays
it's a great
in this game.
fantasy
I
game
really do.
for everybody. Tight ends, obviously, Travis Kelce and Heuerman or whatever. I'm not touching him. Defenses, I'm not starting either defense in this game.
I think high-scoring game.
Yeah.
I think both these defenses get I had Broncos for about half this week, and I'm like, as great as they did last week, you're talking about just the best offense, I think, arguably in the NFL right now.
Chiefs
So.
are hot, but I'm going Chiefs in this game.
Yeah, I like it. At home, tough to win in that stadium. I'm going Chiefs as well.
All right.
High scoring game. I got 38-33, something like that.
It's gonna be a fun game to watch. Actually, we won't be watching. We'll be tailgating at the Packers-Rams game. Hopefully, there'll be some
That's
TVs
right.
out there.
Hell yeah.
But
let's get to this next game. Another rematch. This is a week 1 rematch, I believe. This game ended in a tie. So if you don't know who that is, it's the Browns versus the Steelers. All right. This was a crazy week 1 game. I don't think it's anything like week 1. Steelers are coming off a bye. They're well rested. Once again, no Lev Bell, which is odd, I've been calling him not coming back. I don't think it's odd. I think it's odd that everyone keeps saying he's coming back for no damn reason.
Every single week.
I'm sick of it.
Every single week. I'm done.
I'm done as well. But anywho, let's start with these quarterbacks with Steelers versus Browns. You got a young Baker Mayfield who's looking pretty decent right now. I mean, he's not looking great by any means. I'm not trying to flaunt and go crazy about him, but he's definitely looking good enough to start for your bye weeks, such as Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, and that's Dak. No one's probably starting Marcus Mariota, but I do like Baker Mayfield this week just because the Steelers have been so susceptible to pass yards on their defense. Their run defense for the Steelers is a lot better than their pass defense. So this week I'm a little more scared of a Nick Chubb and a Duke Johnson, to where I am very happy about playing well, I guess we'll get to the receivers, but a Jarvis and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield, I do like. What do you think about Baker?
Yeah, I like Baker Mayfield. Good matchup. Steelers are coming off a bye, so kind of like I was talking about the Packers coming off a bye, they prepared for this. They prepared for Baker. Obviously, he's a rookie. They're going to give him pressure, and
they're going to look at everything they didn't do in week 1, how
exactly. So I think you can play him, but don't expect a huge game from him. I think he'll get a couple touchdowns, throw for a decent amount of yards. I think they're going to be in it. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, back and forth, divisional matchup. But I do give the edge to the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger. I think Ben Roethlisberger is a nice start this week as well.
Yeah, you cannot go away from Ben, especially with this matchup as well. Favorable. Browns I think, are leading the league in turnovers. But regardless,
their defenses look great. I mean, they've been in every single game. How many overtime games have they played this year? 12? But it seems like.
But definitely, I think both quarterbacks are easy starts this week. Let's get to these running backs. Let's stick on the Steelers. We're talking James Conner. No Lev Bell. James Conner must start every week. And what I expect and I totally know is going to happen with this game is, I'm calling this right now. James Conner is going to have the biggest game he's had this year to date. He's going to top all of his current, best records this year.
Which he's had some 30-point games.
Absolutely. So we could be looking at close to 40. We could be looking at the Todd Gurley type game today, or Sunday, I should say, because of the fact that Mike Tomlin is going to pound the rock from the very first step. And not only that, they want to control the game, and not only that, James Conner, I feel like this is one of the 2 last weeks that he could be the main guy, and I think he just has this chip on his shoulder to get out there and prove something that he has been proven, but I think this week's going to mean a really, really a lot to him. So, like I said, I'm calling James Conner to have the biggest fantasy week he's had yet to date, and possibly be that number 1 running back this week.
Wow. All right, well, I'm deploying James Conner in all leagues that I have him. But Nick Chubb on the other side. I picked him up last week, started him, 14 points. I'll take that all day. Tough matchup this week. I think if you start Nick Chubb, it's because bye weeks, you're trying to fill people in. I have him in a few leagues. I'm not starting him just because of the matchup. And obviously, you're praying and hoping for a touchdown or 2 from him, which it's going to be tough against the Steelers defense. So if you need to start Nick Chubb, I would, but I'm a little nervous on what he's going to give you this week. So,
do you think because of that, maybe Duke Johnson's a better play this week?
I would say yes, but for some reason they are just not getting him the ball, and I just don't understand.
Yeah, I learned that when I put in my flex last week. Because the week before that, he had over 100 yards. But
I know, but even only on 4 touches,
Yep.
So they're only giving him a few touches.
It's
and
sad.
You're hoping for those
really
breakaways.
expected once Carlos Hyde left that they were just going to start really funneling it to Chubb and Duke.
Well, Duke was listed as a starter on the depth chart,
But that always happens.
I know. Those
always happens. I hate that. He's the starter.
I know.
He gets
Chubb
4
comes
plays. But anyways.
I think Duke's a pretty risky play. I think obviously Chubb is more, he's going to get the 15 to 20 touches. So because of volume, he's definitely a great flex throw in there on a bye week fill-in. But if you've got a couple players to play instead of him, then I would say leave him on your bench this week and, deploy him next week when the Browns have an easier matchup.
So let's go to receivers. Let's stick with the Browns. Obviously, Jarvis is an every week start, but you're looking at guys like Antonio Callaway or Rashard Higgins. Who out of these other receivers do you like in this matchup? Because I do think they're going to be throwing the ball and trying to catch up to the Steelers to where there's going to be a lot of guys eating.
Yeah, so
of those other receivers.
Is Higgins playing this week?
Let's see. I think he is. I'm pretty sure he's questionable.
It's shown that Baker likes Higgins, so if Higgins plays, then I would go Higgins over like a Callaway. But it's hard to trust anybody besides, obviously Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, and you know what? Higgins is doubtful. He probably won't play. So we're talking about a Callaway who could really be looking at some targets.
Or Ratley.
Yep,
Ratley had a good game a couple weeks ago. I think last week it was a little more down, but those guys are plays that you're going to try to hope for the best. Hope for a touchdown. If anyone, if you want to jump to tight ends, I'm going to Njoku all day. Baker loves him.
Yeah, for Steelers receivers, we got Antonio Brown, Juju. You're starting those guys. James Washington, you're not starting. You got two receivers to start. I think it's as simple as that.
Definitely.
Tight ends, definitely David Njoku. I love him in this game. And then you get to the Steelers, you got a Jesse James and a Vance McDonald, who I am just you
steering clear.
Throw them both in the gutter and go get me another because I don't want it.
Yeah, it's a TEBC, tight end by committee, man.
Definitely.
That's what they are.
So let's now talk about the defenses because my favorite streaming defense for this week is absolutely 100% the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're out there on almost all waiver wires. They're coming off a bye week. Mind you, they haven't been this great to this point. They're facing a Browns team who has a young quarterback who I think with this week they're going to know how to get to him. On top of that, it is dumping in Pittsburgh right now. It's pouring rain, which is nothing more than fantasy defense relevance right there, in my opinion. So
yeah.
I really, really like the Steelers defense as a stream this week.
Yeah, I think Steelers definitely take this one, and like I said earlier, I think Baker will throw a couple touchdowns, but I also think he'll throw a few interceptions and maybe even a fumble or two, just because of that heavy rain. Yeah,
TJ Watt's coming for that ass.
I know, and he's killing it. So
he is.
I'm going Steelers. I think you are as well.
Heinz Field, get out of here. I honestly think this might be a blowout, and Steelers really just pound the ball with James Conner. James Conner almost 40 points. Anywho, let's get to
Giants.
Another big game here.
It is a divisional matchup. Redskins have looked really good. We'll start on that side of the ball with quarterbacks. Alex Smith.
Love him this week.
I do too. I think Alex Smith is out there in a lot of waiver wires. Once again, he's a great streaming option for the week. Are you deploying Eli Manning though?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Against this one too. I do like him because just of how good obviously Odell and Sterling are playing with an Evan Ingram back. I do like Eli. I put him as last week a sleeper, and to play him last week, he scared the crap out of everybody until, quarter 4 when he put up some garbage time points. But that's fantasy football.
I'll take that all day.
All day. So I could see this being a shootout between Alex Smith and Eli and them just going ham and back and forth, in my opinion. And not to mention, Giants just got rid of Snacks Harrison. And Eli Apple. Their defense is just getting beat up back there. They're losing guys, and I could see the Redskins, in particular Alex Smith, really taking advantage of that.
Definitely. Running backs. We got Adrian Peterson on the Redskins side of the ball, and I think he's an every week start. I think you could feel pretty confident about putting him in there and getting the 15 to 20 carries, a game. Chris Thompson still is questionable, so he still might not play, which is just better news for Adrian Peterson.
Your brother-in-law, Jared, offered Yanni a trade last night.
I know.
He texted you?
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
I know. It was pretty fair, but Yanni's beat up at running back, so I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think you should.
That's fine. Anyway. So without Snacks, Adrian Peterson is going to eat these guys for dinner. Screw Snacks. He's going straight for the main course.
AD.
All day, without a doubt. So I love Adrian Peterson. He's one of my favorite running backs this week, actually, out of all these matchups.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Flipping to the Giants, obviously, you're starting Saquon no matter what. That man is just like fantasy gold right now. So receivers. You got Odell, you got Sterling. I love them both. I think anyone after them, I'm not touching.
Yeah. And it's still good. Redskins have actually been pretty good on the defensive side of the ball.
We're talking an Odell-Josh Norman matchup right here.
I know.
I don't know what to expect. I hope kind of that the beef is past them and they can just be friends just be good on the playing field because we all know Josh Norman more than anybody can get into Odell's head.
Oh my god!
And just turn a decent day absolutely rogue, and we could be looking at suspensions, and we don't want any of that. So Odell, keep your head on. You got paid. You got nothing to worry about but play. Don't even open your mouth. Just don't talk.
Yeah.
And Josh Norman, he's going to be yapping the whole time, obviously. So this is going to be a great game. I'm excited to watch this matchup without a doubt.
Redskins receivers are confident in starting.
So,
this week?
Paul Richardson's kind of sneaky. I kind of like Paul, but then, you can never discount like a Josh Doxson who can just take the top off the defense. But I can't believe Alex Smith is succeeding
with nobody.
Without throwing the ball to Jordan Reed. I mean, he does lead the team in targets, but he's not making anything happen. It's unbelievable that Jordan Reed, he's healthy, yet he's not playing good. Or I don't know what's going on, but he's bound to break out one of these weeks. And
I think he's the only guy you can be confident in. But, the Giants have been really good on tight ends because they've got the best safety in the league in Lane and Collins, covering them.
And a decent linebacker core.
A great cover linebacker in Alec Ogletree.
It's your boy. So it's going to be tough to say.
But he's the only pass catcher I'm playing this week on the Redskins side, or any week.
Both tight ends you're liking. I'm liking Evan Ingram and Jordan Reed. I think you're comfortable starting both of them. And I wouldn't set your expectations too high for either of them, but I definitely think they're going to be solid 10-plus point plays.
Yeah, you drafted them to be your starter, so I think you're going to deploy them. I do think Redskins are a really good defensive stream this week. I was staring at them, wanting to pick them up. I just had no one really to drop, so I'm rolling with my Rams against the Packers, which is scary, but the Rams any given day can, ball out as well. So I'm going Redskins in this game.
I'm going Giants at home. I think they are just yearning for that win, and I really do think they pull it out. I think obviously Odell takes over this game.
As he can on any given week. If he can
keep his head on straight. And obviously with Saquon, they're a great compliment to each other. So
but yeah, I got at Lions.
I got this one. This is a tough one, man. Like, I don't know what to think about either of these teams necessarily. Lions are coming off a bye week, right?
Yep.
So they're going to be looking, I think, a little bit fresher, obviously. Seahawks are playing pretty good, though, recently.
They are.
Defense is stepping up. I think they've really done well coming back from this Earl Thomas injury, and really maintaining themselves after this Earl Thomas injury.
Well, they've really established the run, which has really helped them out a lot, obviously.
Let's start with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, let's go with
Russell Wilson versus Matthew Stafford here. Stafford, I think, is a solid play this week. He's never scored less than 15 points in the season. So, without a doubt, he's a streamer. He could fill in for any of these guys and get you 15-plus points. I'll take that every day.
Even with all these injuries on the Seahawks side of the ball, they are the top pass defense in the league. That's the only thing. But Matt Stafford's at home, and the Seahawks have played, Josh Rosen, some crappier quarterbacks. Definitely. So it fluctuates. Matt Stafford's definitely solid player. I think you can actually start him on every single week, and hope, like you said, 15 points at the minimum. I actually just picked him up in our league, and I'm going to play him next week when Carson Wentz is on a bye.
Nice.
Russell Wilson, he's starting to catch fire. He's starting to get going. He always does this towards the end of the year. Last year, obviously, he was the best fantasy quarterback in the NFL. I think he continues to roll. I think this is a nice scoring game right here. I think they both are going to score a decent amount of points, and it's going to be a fun fantasy day for anyone that has Seahawks or Lions on their side of the ball.
Like who's? Because that's what makes me want to jump into the receivers here for the Lions. We're looking at a Lions receiving core who I personally want to steer clear from because I don't know who the hell is getting the ball. You're looking at, Marvin Jones, who's doing decent. Golden Tate, who's killing it. Kenny Golladay, who's doing pretty decent. All of them, I don't know who to go with. I really don't. And on top of that, you just mentioned Seahawks pass defense is one of the top in the league, if not the top. So, scary to me. I don't know who to deploy. I like all the Lions receivers, but I don't know who I like the most. So, for that reason, I kind of got to steer clear, and I'm glad I don't own any of them.
Yeah, if I had Golden Tate, I'd be super confident in starting him on a weekly basis.
Sure.
Just off volume. But when you have Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones,
I guess that's the tearing part. I really do like the upside with Golladay over Jones, unfortunately.
Jones was the top 10 receiver last year, so we know what he can do. Obviously, less targets this year. That's what's killing him. I like Marvin Jones still. I like Kenny Golladay. I started Kenny Golladay in a couple leagues last week, and, he didn't do much with him. He's one of those guys that's going to get a few catches for tons of yards, So
not last week.
Yeah, except for last week. But if I'm going Golladay or Marvin Jones, I'm going Marvin Jones this week because I'm playing Kenny Golladay.
I'm going Golladay over Jones for sure.
But, it's definitely it's a tough call. any given week, one's gonna do better than the other. I
And
think
that's what
really
I mean.
the
This-
only guy that you can feel confident about
Definitely
is
Golden Tate. I agree completely. Let's
Um,
flip to that Seahawks side of the ball.
Yeah, I think
You got your boy Dougie Fresh. How you feeling about him?
really good. I think he's definitely a plug and play this week, coming off a bye week. Getting that extra week of rest after being kind of beat up through the whole season definitely favors him. He plays in the slot about 75 to 80% of the time, so he's going to avoid that Darius Slay matchup. I think that Tyler Lockett, is going to get a lot more Darius Slay, but on any given week, Tyler Lockett is so fast that he can, get one over the top and score a touchdown. But definitely, I'm rolling with Doug Baldwin, and if you have Tyler Lockett, I definitely think that you can throw him in that flex if you need to fill in a bye week. But it is going to be kind of scary with Darius Slay covering him. Other than that, you have that Moore guy who keeps scoring touchdowns, but I'm definitely staying away from him. He's a touchdown or bust. So yeah, let's get to the running backs. Obviously, Kerryon Johnson had a career day last week with Theo Riddick out. Is Theo Riddick playing this week?
He is questionable.
So if Theo
He
doesn't play
practiced.
again, Kerryon's going to eat again. Obviously, Blunt's going to continue to steal touchdowns from Kerryon. I think if you have Kerryon, you're starting him. If you really need a running back this week, Garrett Blunt is someone that can give you 10 points off of 40 yards rushing and a touchdown, So
It's not looking
desperate
like
play.
Theo's going to play, though. He sat out yesterday's practice. So he, I don't know. He probably won't play, which scares me because I'm playing against Kerryon Johnson. But hopefully the Seattle defense can step up.
Yeah, and they might. They got Bobby Wagner, one of the best in the league. But anyways, we'll flip over to the Seahawks running back group.
Your RBBC, Dill.
Yeah.
Dill also owns about 90% of these running backs in this
No.
backfield.
So Chris Carson is the lead guy. Once again, a
You just
week
traded
of rest.
him.
I did. I
Wow.
just traded Chris Carson. I needed a receiver. I really did. And I didn't want to, but out of all getting Chubb last week gave me more confidence to trade one of my running backs. And I think Chris Carson, obviously it sucks because I have him in seriously 90% of my other leagues. So I didn't want to get rid of him, but
For Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, yeah, who's had some really big weeks and had some duds. So I hope he just balls out for the rest of the year. But he's, like I said, he's going to have those good weeks and bad weeks. But Chris Carson, I think you can start confidently. The Lions did just trade for Damon Snacks Harrison, who's the best in the league at stopping the run. So
Who knows if he'll play? We'll
Exactly.
see.
And
They
if
just
he
got him
does,
last week, so
limited,
if he does, it might be limited, yeah. And if he does, though, I think it changes everything because he is the best run stopper in the league. The best.
He is, but
statistically.
I don't think it changes that much. I still think the Seahawks will be able to run the ball.
That's
They've
insane.
been really successful this year running the ball. And, I was nervous about the whole, Mike Davis thing because he had a big game and whatever. But last week or 2 weeks ago before their bye week, it was obvious Chris Carson is their guy, and they're very confident about him. Rashad Penny got some run at the very end of the game, garbage time, so I'm not worried about that at all. I think Chris Carson's the guy in the backfield. I think he gets over 100 yards this game. I think you could start him confidently if you have him.
So, they've played a lot of favorable matchups, and I think that goes a lot to why he's had a lot of good games. Lions is another favorable matchup. It was huge for the Lions to grab Snacks. I think if Snacks plays this game, though, you're tripping to know that they have the best rush defender.
One
Going
guy is not
against-
going to change it that much.
This guy is like two guys. Snacks is two guys on that D line, talking about a Seahawks offensive line who has played a little better recently.
Their run offense has been
Matchups
great.
has been great because of matchups, is my point. So,
And it's a great matchup.
it is. If
It is.
Snacks doesn't play.
If he does play still, you can
We can
deploy
talk about
Chris
this all
Carson.
day,
We
so
can.
let's just
we'll
move on. Dylan is hard-headed, this guy.
Oh my God, Jake is the most hard-headed.
We can still keep going. Let's just keep going.
Oh God, listen to this guy. Anyways, I'm not starting either defense on this one. Tight ends, I'm not starting either tight end on either side of the ball either. I'm going with Lions though for the win at home.
No defenses?
I'm not starting either defense. I think they're both going to score.
Definitely.
And
I think Seahawks come into the Lions and take this. I mean, you're looking at a Lions team who didn't play well against Miami 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and Miami just got destroyed last night. So I like Seahawks coming in and taking this one from the Lions at home, and I need them to take this from the Lions because they're obviously in our division. So
I know I need the Lions to beat the Seahawks because they're in my division.
We'll go on all day.
Yeah, I'm going Lions. Let's move on to the next one. We got Bucks at Bengals. man, once again, 2 bad defenses, 2 pretty good offenses. Let's start on the Buccaneers side of the ball. Jameis Winston, starting him.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Dalton, starting them, obviously. Buccaneers are the worst pass defense in the league.
Bengals aren't too much better.
No, they're not. So, running backs, though, let's talk about them. Your boy Rojo. Rojo. He looks like the starter this week.
Possibly.
Possibly. Peyton Barber.
Didn't practice yesterday,
Yeah,
so he is probably not going to play. It's looking like he's not, but who knows? You really don't know. If he doesn't play, I do like the matchup, but I'm just still not loving what the Bucs do with their running backs. I mean, they just throw the ball so much. I could see both quarterbacks, all receivers in this game just really eating, and we'll be lucky if Rojo gets a couple passes, and then he might sneak in for a touchdown. But it's a risky play just because you don't know what to expect.
But it could be
Another 20 point, or it could be his first 20-pointer and really win you the week. So if you're in a position where you are on the cusp of starting him, I would, just because it's so favorable, but just make sure you watch on that Peyton Barber injury, because if he happens to play, there goes all that extra value Rojo has. But flipping to the Bengals, it's all Joe Mixon, without a doubt. You're starting him every week. So let's move to the receivers. You got an A.J. Green who you're deploying, but let's talk about a Tyler Boyd. He's coming off his worst game to date, I believe. It's just one game, so why don't you preach on what you like about him and if you're playing him this week?
Well, obviously, what I love about him this week is he's playing the Buccaneers. You know, they're terrible at pass defense, especially against the slot receivers, which he plays out of the slot majority of the snaps. I think 70% of the snaps. So I love Tyler Boyd this week. You know, I think that he's going to bounce back from last week's dud. And I'm starting him. I'm throwing him in my flex, and I'm going to roll with him and hope that he gives me a 20-point game, because he's had a couple of those this year. And that's what I need this week to pull away with playing Kenyon Drake in his 22-point game or whatever it is. A.J. Green obviously is a great start this week. Other than that, though, I'm not super confident in any of the Bengals. John Ross is out for who knows how long. Just like the whole Will Fuller thing, these speed guys just continuously get hurt. They're soft.
So flipping to the Bucs side, you got a Mike Evans who's you're going to start every week, but you're looking at this guy like Deshaun Jackson who he's been so hit or miss every week, but I do really like him. I think he's somebody that is getting a ton of targets. Jameis is loving, and I think Deshaun's an easy play this week against the bad Bengals. And then Chris Godwin as well. It sucks because I'm playing against Chris Godwin. Darren's starting him in his flex. But I do like him as well. I think they distribute the ball really well in that Bucs offense when it comes to throwing. Throwing the ball, they do great, but running the ball, that's a different story. So that's kind of that receiving core there who I really like and think you can deploy. But these tight ends, you own O.J. Howard, Dill. You got him back. You got a Cameron Brate in that offense as well. Which one do you... Well, you're going to go O.J. Howard.
I think Brate is insignificant. I mean, O.J. Howard obviously is the guy they want to get the ball to. Brate had a touchdown a couple weeks ago, which made him look a lot better, but I think it was his only catch. Last week he had a decent week. Actually, I wouldn't even say decent. He had 3 catches for 23 yards. O.J. Howard had, I think, 6 receptions for 60 yards or something like that. He's definitely getting a lot more targets than Cameron Brate is. I'm confident in starting O.J. Howard from this point forward, especially their schedule's pretty favorable down the stretch.
Very.
And they also, have a bad defense, so they're going to have to throw the ball a ton. So I definitely like O.J. Howard a lot.
Nice. Flipping to the Bengals side, you have a C.J. Uzomah who you're starting weekly now. Yeah. He's a number 1 tight end who's getting 5 to 10 targets every single week. You can't diss that. You can't say no to that. I'll take that every week. I filled him in for a couple bye weeks last week, so all day. Yeah. C.J. Uzomah. Both defenses are some of the worst in the league, so don't even go there. This is offensive game right here. So next game, Dill, we got Jets traveling into Chi-Town going against the Bears.
I think the Bears defense is going to feast. I think they are going to ball out this week, so I'm stoked about that. But we'll start with the quarterbacks. Darnold, are you playing him?
Well, I don't think so. I actually just dropped Robbie Anderson. I'm not loving anything that Jets offense has to offer necessarily.
Robbie Anderson might not even play. He didn't practice yesterday, so
even better.
Speaking of
people that aren't playing, obviously Bilal Powell, he's out for a year. Luckily, I got an update yesterday saying he should make a full recovery. So without that, that's another offensive weapon that they use a crap ton that's just gone.
Gone.
So I really don't like anything to do with Darnold this week. I don't like
either.
him really moving forward this year. I think in years to come they're going to build something, but I don't like anything to do with the Jets this year. But flipping to Mitch Trubisky, one of my favorite plays this week without a doubt. Coming off a huge game last week. Obviously, everyone coming into this year looked at Mitch like, he could be that sleeper, could be that guy.
Could be that quote-unquote Jared Goff making that big leap from his rookie year.
He is just... And, he is throwing the ball, not doing that great, but just his ability. He's a smart guy, and he's going to do everything he can to win games. And I think with that kind of mentality, you're just going to see fantasy points and relate to that.
Because honestly, he looked pretty crappy last week.
Yeah.
Throwing the ball. I mean, he was super inaccurate on some passes that I just couldn't believe.
That 8-yard touchdown, I think he ran like 80 yards. 80 yards total he ran on an 8-yard touchdown. He ran all the way to the right side of the field, all the way back to the other side of the field, almost 80 yards. So he's unbelievable. I really do like him a lot, and I think he's got a great future, and I do like him especially a lot this week going against the Jets at home.
So running backs, Jets, obviously Isaiah Crowell.
Upstick, I do think he is going to be used a lot more due to Bilal Powell getting injured, but not someone I'm super confident every week. And, there are guys that own him that are starting him weekly because he can put up those
Big
20
play.
plays.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a Bears defense who you already preached about. That's one of the scariest defenses in the leagues. The last couple of weeks, they've been susceptible to some they've collapsed a bit, when it comes to running and passing. But I do think they get their gears going this week. They're playing at home.
Yeah.
I think they destroy that Jets run game big time.
I think that Trenton Cannon is a sleeper this week. He had, I think, 5 catches for 50 yards last week. So, I mean, he's that pass-catching back that's going to fill in on third down for Crowell. So, they will be down. I think that he could potentially have a decent game for PPR leagues. But go to the Bears side of the ball. They have got 2 running backs. Obviously, Tariq Cohen.
Jordan
Howard.
Balling
out,
sorry.
man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Jordan Howard. So,
I was just going to say, I think you can start them both.
I think so, too. I think they're going to get up, and they're going to want to pound the ball with Jordan Howard. I think if any week, this is a Jordan Howard week. Receivers. Jets, they might have to roll with like Rashad Matthews that they just signed. So I'm staying far away from him. Obviously, I was pretty high on Javon Curse Jermaine Curse last week, but he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything at all. So I'm staying away from.
Once again, we were fighting about that last week. We were literally on the pod, not fighting, but doing what we do, arguing, just like you did recently here today, battling with me. So good job.
I was about a waiver wire guy who potentially could do something, but
it's always something. But anyways, I agree, and I just think, damn, these Jets are gonna get eaten alive, Dylan. Oh my gosh, they don't even have anyone to throw the ball to.
Yeah,
scary.
They're screwed.
Where you flip to the Bears. Mitch, obviously, he has guys to throw to even with injuries. You're looking at an Allen Robinson who is not looking like he's going to play this week.
Yeah, it's looking a little nerve-wracking.
So, with that being said, I think your boy Taylor Gabriel, he's going to be getting a huge upstick in targets this week on top of an Anthony Miller. I really like this week as well, but I really think Bears get up and they really, really ground and pound with Jordan Howard, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean...
But Taylor Gabriel, I think I like as a start this week, without a doubt.
I mean... It just sucks because I feel like any given week he can go off or just have 5 points like last week. So he's a risky play, but if Allen Robinson doesn't play, then
definitely like it if he doesn't play.
Yeah, and then tight ends, obviously Trey Burton's finally coming around. You drafted him pretty high. I would definitely deploy him confidently. And then on the Jets side of the ball, I actually picked up Chris Herndon in one of my leagues that I needed.
About time. Talk about him every week.
And 2 weeks in a row, he scored a touchdown. So hopefully that will make it 3. But I don't even know.
I bet it will. But think about it. He ain't got no one to throw the ball to.
Doesn't.
He could literally use your boy quite a bit this week.
Definitely.
And moving forward.
And then obviously Bears defense starting them all day.
Bears at home got this W.
Definitely. Ravens at Panthers. Pretty solid game here. Ravens defense, man, they're definitely tough. So let's start with quarterbacks. So Joe Flacco against Cam Newton. Cam Newton's a weekly start, obviously.
Yeah, and at this point, so is Joe Flacco.
I know, man.
Joe Flacco's has almost 62% completion percentage. He has over 2,000 passing yards, which ranks 5th in the NFL. And he has 9 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. I mean, he is literally killing it right now. So I think on both ends, this is a tough quarterback play for both sides, though, because of the defenses. I do think this is a much bigger defensive game than offensive game, as good as both these offenses are. So, with that being said, you cannot start Cam Newton. You're starting him every week. Joe Flacco is somebody, though, I love on your roster that you can possibly play because the Panthers give up a lot of passing plays. But I do like Joe Flacco just moving forward the rest of the year. I like him if you had an injury at quarterback or your bye week filling or whatever that may be.
Yeah, definitely has a favorable schedule going down the line too. But running backs for the Ravens, we got Collins and Buck. So last couple of weeks, it's been more Collins than Buck. I think you can still roll with Alex Collins this week and feel pretty confident. And, Buck Allen, you're hoping for, a touchdown with him. So I don't know if I'm confident starting Buck Allen on a weekly basis like I am with Alex Collins because he's going to get that, that workload.
I agree.
On Panther side of the ball, obviously, it's Christian McCaffrey.
Run CMC all day,
every day.
And, I think you can't have huge expectations for him this week. I mean, Baltimore's run defense is the best in the league. So, with that being said,
you're hoping for those catches.
You're just hoping for a PPR game. He could score off a touchdown, but I don't see him having the best day on the ground rushing. So, don't go crazy about Christian McCaffrey if he doesn't have a huge game, but always has that PPR potential. So, flipping these receivers, I will stay with the Panthers. You got a Devin Funchess who if you read all the articles, everyone's talking about Devin Funchess as a sit this week. Don't play him. I kind of agree. I could see where they're coming from, but we're also talking about he's going to be playing up against a Jimmy Smith who has only played one game this season. He has to be a little rusty. He did look a little rusty. They played Alshon last week, if I'm not mistaken.
The Saints.
Sorry, they played Michael Thomas last week. He got shredded by Michael Thomas last week, and I think it goes to show that he still is a little rusty and is going to get it going. And Devin Funchess last week, he looked like a man against little kids.
I mean, he's looking really good.
He's jumping over guys, just catching it like, give me this ball. But, so I'm not saying don't start Funchess this week because I do think he has a potential to get in the end zone over the top.
What about DJ Moore?
I was going to jump into these younger guys. I do like DJ Moore, but none of them I'm comfortable enough starting. I don't think anybody after Funchess in the receiver core, I can confidently say he's the guy. You know what I mean? Besides Funchess, like I said. So flipping over to the Ravens, let's talk. I really just want to talk about one guy, and you can
Jay Brown.
Smoke. I think John Brown is possibly going to win somebody a fantasy championship this year because he seriously is just. You drafted him so late, and he just
not even. It. He was picked up off the waiver wires, man.
If he wasn't even drafted,
I know, right?
So it's unbelievable to me. This guy is just the gem on your team that is just getting mad targets. He's scoring. He's so involved in that offense. I love John Brown every single week. I've tried trading for him countless times, and I love him this week against the Panthers defense as well, of course. So if you have John Brown, just claps to you because he's balling this year without a doubt. But then you get to like a Michael Crabtree and a Willie Snead. I'm going to let you kind of preach on those guys a bit.
Michael Crabtree, I think, once again, is one of those guys that you're hoping for a touchdown with him. Obviously, he's actually been getting a decent amount of targets, and Joe Flacco's looked pretty good. If you have Michael Crabtree, definitely you can throw him in your flex. Willie Snead, on the other hand, is just, I talked about him pretty highly last week. Really wanted to start him. I'm happy I didn't. He was his worst game of the year.
Thanks. I spent money on him.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I wasn't going to mention it, but
I'm so sorry. I told you too. I'm so confident. Do it. I thought he was getting 20 points. But anyways,
fantasy football there.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of those guys that you just can't trust on a weekly basis. If you really need someone, then play him because of the matchups.
In that game too, he had over 15 people at the game watching because it was a rival. It was his old team. He had a full crowd for just him there. Drop passes.
I know it was not a pretty game for him. But
anywho,
yeah. So don't start Snead. If you need to start Crabtree, start him. Tight ends, though. Let's move to...
You have a Hayden Hurst in the Ravens, and then there's another guy who scored last week. I can't think of him off the top of the head, but...
They've got 5 different tight ends.
That's my point. If I can't think of them, I'm not really starting them, There's no way I'm starting them. So, on the Panthers side, obviously, you're starting Greg Olsen every week. I think is what it is. But these defenses, I love them both. I think this is a low-scoring game, 14-10, something like that. Maybe even 21-14, something like that. But... I guess that's not too low scoring, but I don't think that the scoring gets out of control here by any means because of the defenses. I do have Panthers at home taking this W, though.
I'm taking Ravens in this one. Colts at Raiders. I'm staying away from the Raiders.
Colts, baby. Give me some of them Colts.
Colts defense all day, but Andrew Luck has been lighting it up. I think he's like the number two or number 3 fantasy quarterback this year. He's just been playing really well. Raiders defense has been playing not well at all. So I'm deploying Andrew Luck, obviously. But are you playing Derek Carr?
Love it, Derek
Yeah.
Carr this week. I think he has a huge bounce back. The media's hating on him, saying that his team hates him. I think that's totally crap. I think he comes out and kills it. I really think that he comes out and really proves everybody wrong. And I think Jordy Nelson has himself a nice day.
What about Jalen Richard and Doug Martin?
I don't know.
I know.
I like.
It's
I
risky.
do know. I like Richard as. I like him more because it's all about game script. The only way that Doug Martin's going to be able to get successful fantasy days is if they're running the ball and successful in offense, which I don't see happening. I see them being a bit unsuccessful and having to pass the ball and having to get rid of it and pass it down to Richard. So I like Jalen Richard without a doubt as the better running back, but they can somehow get the ball rolling and get out ahead, then Doug Martin is the guy. So it's tough to say. Either way, I'm not starting either one of them because I can't decide and I don't know who.
We'll see after this week kind of where they're at.
But with bye weeks and if you're in a position to go and have to pick one, I'd go Richard.
Yeah, and then on the Colts side of the ball, Marlon Mack is balling.
Marlon Mack attack is back. Oh my gosh, that man is a savage. He won, I think, Offensive Player of the Week last week. Over 30 points in fantasy. If you have him now, you are just sitting on him. Obviously, so happy.
It's a little nerve wracking. He didn't. He was limited on Wednesday. Didn't practice yesterday, so we got to see kind of what he does today. But receivers, T.Y. Hilton.
If that's the case, Nyheim Hines is the guy.
Yeah, if Mack is out, then Nyheim Hines is definitely the guy. But let's talk about the receivers. We got T.Y. Hilton coming back. I think he scored a touchdown last week.
Yep.
Only had 4 targets, though, so that's a little concerning. But T.Y. Hilton, I think, is a must-start every week when Andrew Luck is in. Chester Rogers, he's been that second guy, especially with Ryan Grant being out. I definitely don't think he's someone that you can confidently start on a weekly basis unless you need to. I've started him a couple weeks, actually, this year. Raiders' defense is not good, so Chester Rogers could have a decent day this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I like Chester. He stepped up big for playing for T.Y. Hilton when he hasn't played, and I think he's now proved a confident role and a confident guy Andrew Luck can get the ball to if need be.
Definitely. Let's go over to the Raiders side of the ball with receivers.
Only Jordy Nelson. That's the only guy you need to worry about now.
I know,
obviously, though, your boy, well, not all of our boys, but you like Martavis Bryant as well.
Definitely big play potential. Colts defense, pass defense hasn't been terrible, but they haven't been the best. So he definitely could take one over the top, get a big play, but that's a shot in the dark. You know, you're hoping to play someone like that in like a daily fantasy more so than season long fantasy. But you know, he could be a top guy on the waiver priority next week because he has a huge day, gets tons of targets in this matchup, which I think it could end up being a shootout. You know, but other than that, there's really no other receivers on that team that you can start confidently. Let's move on to these tight ends. Huh?
Yeah. You got a couple good tight end options in this game. Obviously, a Jared Cook who was a kind of not expected to be as good as he is this year. You know, not killing it by any means, but he's had a lot of decent games, and I think against the 8th ranked, you know, giving up the most amount of points Colts, I think the Jared Cook has a decent game this week. Coming off a bye week, he's well rested. They are now Amari Cooper down, so even more targets could be coming Jared Cook's way, and I really like Jared Cook and the chemistry he's built with Derek Carr. So I like him for this game. Let's look to that Colts side.
Definitely.
You got 2 guys. People have been relying on Eric Ebron since week 1. Jack Doyle's been out the last week or 2 weeks. Jack Doyle's questionable. He remained limited at practice throughout this week, so it'll be interesting to watch to see if Jack Doyle's going to play. But out of these 2 guys, say they're both healthy, Jack Doyle's playing, Eric Ebron's playing, who do you like more and why?
I think I'm going Eric Ebron just because he has shown that he can play. You know, he's definitely built that chemistry, like you're talking about with Jared Cook and Derek Carr. He's built that chemistry with Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck obviously likes it. He keeps going to him. So even if Jack Doyle comes back, I think that Eric Ebron still is going to have decent games. You know, Jack Doyle does take away a little bit from him, but we've seen in the past that 2 tight ends can be significant in a Colts offense. So if Jack Doyle comes back, I think that he's definitely someone that you can play as well, especially with the tight end position being so slim, especially with all these injuries. Jack Doyle has definitely shown that he could be a solid contributor on that offense.
I agree. Any defenses you like this week?
No.
For this game, Colts Raiders?
I'm sorry, Colts. I do like the Colts. They've actually been sneakily good throughout the year, coming off a good week last week, but this is another good matchup depending on, you know, Derek Carr could come out firing on all cylinders with everyone. Derek Carr could come out firing on all cylinders, especially with everyone talking all that smack on him, you know.
Like I said, he could be a big bounce back candidate coming into this week. I don't like either defenses. I think Andrew Luck, Derek Carr, they're going to be battling it out, and this will be a close game in my opinion. I do have the Colts coming in and winning this one, though, in Oakland.
Yeah, I think the Colts take it as well. This next game is going to be an ugly game. 49ers at Cardinals. Both teams, are insignificant. I mean, they're both in the NFC West, and they both suck. So, let's start with quarterbacks first. C.J. Beathard.
I like him. I really like him. If you are in a worst case scenario to play, but the guy has a cannon of an arm going against the Cardinals defense who's just being destroyed by everybody. So I'm not going against C.J. Beathard this week. I'm definitely not going to downplay him because I think he could have a decent one.
Okay. What about Josh Rosen?
I don't know. He's coming off a negative point game. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, man. So, knowing that, I'm skeptical of him. But at the same time, I do love Josh Rosen. I love his fundamentals. I just really think if his teammates around him could help. They did fire their offensive coordinator. About time, Mike McCoy, right? So now they could actually. Well, who knows? They could actually play.
David Johnson the ball,
they can play to their strengths, which could be David Johnson, which just makes it even better for Josh Rosen because that means defenses are coming up, and he'll be able to take it over the top with Christian Kirk, who I do like as a sleeper this week. So I do like both of them. I don't love either one of them, and I wouldn't play either one of them unless I absolutely 2-quarterback league had to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In my case last week, I wish I never even played. I wish I would have just had one quarterback on our 2-quarterback league because, like you said, Josh Rosen got me negative points. So I'm going to hold a grudge on him. I'm definitely not playing him. Running backs, though.
Obviously, David Johnson.
Yeah.
You are playing him, and do you think now he should succeed more with the
100%.
new offensive coordinator?
He's got Byron Leftwich, the new offense coordinator, who, was with, what's his name, the past few years. What was their head coach's name?
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians, who raved about Byron Leftwich, saying that this guy's going to be a head coach before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
He's so smart. He knows what to do. So I think that he's going to take that Bruce Arians offense and implement it back in. So I think you could see David Johnson getting at least 5 catches for 50 yards and then, rush for 50 to 100 yards and a couple touchdowns. So
nice.
I think he's going to have a huge day. But let's talk about the 49ers running backs. We have
Matt Breida, who's going to be, he's a little banged up. He obviously got taken out after 5 plays last week. He is practicing this week in a limited fashion, but yesterday he was sidelined. He didn't practice at all, so this is going to be something really interesting to watch. It looks like it's going to be more doubtful that he's playing than questionable even, and if that's the case, it is time to fire up Raheem Mostert.
Without a doubt, mustard on your ketchup.
Cardinals are giving up some of the most rush yards in the league, and the 49ers have been a monster on the ground running the game. Their offensive line is killing it. So I really like Mostert if Breida doesn't play this week. I hope Alfred Morris doesn't cut into it too much because I really am looking like I'm starting Mostert going into this game against the Cardinals. So
I think he's a great start, and I've been saying this for weeks now. He looks like a David Johnson kind of running the ball. So this might be his time to shine. He might be that undrafted free agent from 4 years ago that all of a sudden everyone's like, why didn't I pick this guy up? Why didn't I draft this guy?
But that's what makes it interesting to me. Yeah. Why? Why is that the case?
I know.
So
we'll find out.
I do like him though. Favorable matchup. Watch that injury to Breida though, because if he does happen to play like I said before, he's related to X-Men because he just doesn't.
He's got some big balls. Is what he has.
He always plays. So we'll see how that plays out. But if he doesn't start your boy Mostert. Anyways, receivers. 49ers, you got a Godwin or a Goodwin who I don't know.
With 0 of these guys. I mean, you got Patrick Peterson on the other side who will probably cover him, and they're both fast. So it's not like I don't see him taking one over the top like he did a few weeks back multiple times,
So no one you'd start in the 49ers offense, but flipping to the Cardinals offense.
Kittle.
No, we're not the tight ends yet. Sorry, offense. Not offense, my bad. Receivers.
Yeah.
Receivers for Cardinals. Is it time for Larry Fitzgerald to come back with this new Bruce Arians type offense?
Well, last week he scored about 15 points. So
So I mean, is this going to just
I think so.
continue? Are we going to just really see him be fantasy relevant?
I think
Continue
so.
for the rest of the year?
Definitely.
That's good. So that means Josh Rosen is a nice, decent play this week, possibly, or moving forward. Even though
I don't think you should have a ton of confidence in this offense and Fitzgerald, but I do think that Fitzgerald is going to give you those days where gets you 15 points or he gets you 10.
Well, and that's why I really like Christian Kirk is because Josh Rosen and Christian Kirk do have a chemistry together, being so young, getting drafted in the same class. They spend a lot of time together. I like Christian Kirk as a sleeper this week if you need to be in that position. But
I like Kirk a lot.
So that's where I'm going with those receivers. I don't think anyone past those two is even fantasy relevant or worthy.
Yeah,
possibly a JJ. Scored, but that's someone
he's like a Godwin or Goodwin. You know, they're both really fast, and you're praying for a touchdown, a big touchdown.
So, tight ends. We'll keep with the Cardinals. Ricky Seals-Jones. Are you playing him? No, he has been up and down all season. Mostly down, a lot more than he's been up. I definitely am liking on the other side of George Kittle much more, who comes out saying, "I need to play better for my fantasy coaches." Give me some of that all day. Right? Are you kidding me right now?
He's the number 4 tight end in fantasy right now. This guy's playing so well. And
that's what they should be playing for. Fantasy points.
Straight up.
Damn, why are they hating on fantasy sometimes?
I know. And Todd Gurley, same thing. Always telling everyone that he's winning championships for him. So I love that about Todd Gurley too. But I think both defenses are streamable this week if you need one. I think it might be kind of an ugly game offensively. I'm going to go Cardinals at home.
I'm going Niners. I think they have the ground game on lock, and I think Beathard and Kittle really get it going, and that connection's dialed in, and they do enough to slide past the Cardinals, who have been looking dismal. And the only reason I say that is because this is the first week with their new offensive coordinator. They might just be getting the ball rolling, and next week could see a lot more success, in my opinion. So
we got the game of the week next.
Woo!
I cannot wait for this.
You're telling me. Oh, my goodness. I am literally itching since the day we received these tickets. I have just been itching through my skin. Can't wait to get here. We got Packers versus Rams. We got Packers traveling from Wisconsin, the beautiful state, to
California.
Aye.
So why don't we go team by team this time instead of position by position? Why don't you take the floor on the Packers and what you think they're going to do?
So, coming off a bye week, I am so excited to hear that Aaron Rodgers is going to play without a knee brace this week. That's going to be amazing. I'm excited to know that because it just means that he's getting more and more healthy, more and more comfortable down the stretch. So, I'm scared though, of course. You're playing a Rams defense who's scary, but also can be beat on the back end of the ball. Is equipped to lead playing?
No.
You're talking about a Marcus Peters being their star corner who is susceptible to get beat.
He has given up, out of the last 16 throws towards his way, 13.
Scary.
13 out of 16, and you're playing Aaron Rodgers.
Which means they could possibly shred this Rams defense in the back end.
Adams. What
we got to do, though, is get the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, and that's what they've been doing really well coming up to this point because of his knee. He knows he can only hold the ball for 2 to 3 seconds before he has to get it out, which I love. Hopefully, the Packers' O-line can continue to do what they do against one of the, if not the scariest defensive line in the league. I think it is the scariest defensive line in the league. But getting back to that, Aaron Rodgers, you're starting every week without a doubt. I can't wait to watch him play against the Rams because he is the reason we could win this game, I think. Him and Davante Adams. Going to these running backs, you're looking at just a straight-up RBBC. Jamal Williams still dominating the backfield as in the amount of snaps he's playing, not dominating statistically whatsoever. Aaron Jones is dominating. He's averaging 6 yards a carry almost, yet he's getting the fewest snaps out of any of these guys. It's really mind-boggling to me. For that reason, unfortunately, I can't start any of them. I don't like starting Jamal Williams. He's third on my list. I'd rather start a Ty Montgomery or an Aaron Jones all day. If you're in that position, I would start Aaron Jones over the 2 just because of his big play potential. Every time he touches the ball, he gets 10 yards. I swear to God, it's unbelievable to me. Rams are also, believe it or not, a little susceptible on run defense as well, with as good as that line is. So I'm not necessarily overly confident about any of these Packers running backs, but I do think Aaron Jones or Ty Montgomery would be a good play if you need to. And then we get to these receivers. Davante Adams all day. You have... I don't even need to stress on him. He's the number 5, I think, receiver in fantasy football right now. So, obviously, I think he's leading the league or tied for the most amount of touchdowns in the league right now. Coming off a bye week, so that might have changed, but he'll get that right back against these Rams, no doubt. But bigger subject is Geronimo Allison and Randall Cobb, both of which have missed the last couple weeks. Coming off a bye week, both look like they're ready to play. I know Randall Cobb for sure is. I don't know about Geronimo. But I think that really, I got to the point where I dropped Valdez Scantling because these two guys are coming back and they're going to be a big part of this offense. So I don't know if I'd be confident starting Randall Cobb or Geronimo just yet, especially against the nasty Rams defense. But I do love the fact that they're back and we have more options to pass the ball because Marcus Peters, Sam Shields, we can get by them. So you
Sam
could
Shields benched.
done.
Done. Troy Hill is now playing.
Ooh, I like that. So, you know, I don't know. I've been very up and down on what to think about Randall Cobb coming into this game.
I mean, the Rams, I think their strength is their slot corner. So I'm not
too confident on
Yeah.
Randall Cobb. And coming off these injuries, first game back, probably be a little rusty. It's Devontae Adams all day. Someone else I really do like, though, is Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham, I think, is going to be a big target hoarder this week due to Aaron Rodgers having to get the ball out quick. So he's going to be able to just look at Jimmy Graham for these little 5-yard little hitches or whatever they may be and get Jimmy Graham the ball.
moving those chains is what he's going to do.
Exactly, and that's the way we can win this game is just controlling the game, moving the chains, controlling the clock. And the Packers are one of the best to do it. And especially, not only the Packers, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. So that lines up, that starting lineup. Defense, I'm not super sold on. I'm not sold on really because against the Rams. I do like our Packers defense, but this Rams offense is just, just too scary. So with that being said, I'll let you take the floor. But I do, of course, got my Green Bay Packers giving you a record of 7-1, baby. So I can't wait for the game. Dill, you take the Rams forward. Do your thing.
So I do think Packers get a little bit of a edge because of their bye week. That was huge for them, especially coming up against the Rams. I'm really bitter about that. I'm bitter that they got a bye week to prepare for the Rams an extra week. But Sean McVay is just a mastermind. This guy, he's going to change up the entire offense this week and show the Packers nothing they've seen before. Jared Goff has obviously been very, very good this year. But Todd Gurley is really the one who's been carrying this offense. And I think he continues to carry this offense this week against the Packers. Receiver-wise, Cooper Kupp out again. That means Robert Woods will be playing in the slot, which I think he's going to eat. I think he's going to feast in the slot. Brandon Cooks, I think he's going to have a good game. I think just all around, both offenses are going to score a lot of points. So if you've got any Rams or Packers on your team, deploy them. Obviously, Josh Reynolds is that third receiver on the Rams. Do not play him. There's so many people out there last week saying, oh, Josh Reynolds, sleeper. That guy sucks. I'm sorry. He sucks, and I hate him, and I don't know why he's still on that roster.
Man.
Yeah, that's how
Shots.
much I feel about him. Cut him. Just cut him. Anyways, tight ends, I'm not playing any of the tight ends on the Rams. It's just so up and down with them. It's really Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods show with a bunch of Todd Gurley coming at you. Once again, he's going to be scoring 20 to 30 points for you. Start him confidently. I have the Rams defense, and I'm still going to play them. I think Packers do score a decent amount of points, but I think the Rams do get some sacks and, hopefully some turnovers. But it is hard to get the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. He throws it so quickly and gets it out. So it is a risky play playing their defense. In my opinion, if you can stream another defense, I would, but I just don't have anyone else to drop on my team, so I'm just rolling with them.
Nice. Well, I cannot wait for this game. I don't think we need to call who wins it because I think everyone knows who we think is going to win this game on
It's just
both
going to be
ends.
fun to be there.
I can't wait to be there, brother. It's going to be
Yeah.
a blast.
Hell
We're going to
yeah.
have a hell of a time. So go Pack, go. Anyways.
All right. Sunday night, Saints at Vikings.
Sunday night
Rematch
football.
of the NFC Championship that I don't think anyone will ever forget.
Nope.
Such an amazing game. I'm so excited about
That game will go down in history.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it will. And I think this is also going to be a really fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I agree completely.
Let's start with the Saints. We got Drew Brees.
Coming off a game where he didn't kill it. He hasn't played. He didn't play like his normal.
Which we knew it
monstrous
was going to
self.
happen against the Ravens. I took him out of my lineup, started Jameis Winston over him. But this week I'm throwing him right back in there against the
Sure.
Vikings defense, who
Middle of the pack.
yeah, they've been good some games and been shaky some others. I think when they're playing good teams is when they kind of get a little more shaky. So I'm definitely rolling with Drew Brees on the Saints offense. And then on the other side of the ball, Kirk Cousins. I'm rolling with him too. The Saints have been getting destroyed by the pass. So Kirk Cousins and Drew Brees, I think you could start both of them this week.
For sure. I agree with that completely. Let's get to these running backs. You got Latavius Murray playing for Dalvin Cook, which is probably going to happen again this week without a doubt. So Latavius Murray, I'm really liking against the Saints defense. I think he is the L train. I'm hopping on it. I am hopping on that L train. That offensive line is doing really freaking good. They're doing enough to be able to get the L train going. So I'm going Latavius Murray against the Saints all week this week.
3 down back. I mean, you can't ask for anything
more. Can't ask for anything more. You flip to the Saints side. You got Narby BC without a doubt. Both Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara had not great games. Alvin Kamara obviously had the better game. He scored about 15 points, but it was the toughest matchup they're probably going to face all year against the Baltimore Ravens. So with that being said, I think it's a bounce back for both these teams. I like Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Kamara obviously has the PPR potential, and he's just an every down back. He really is. Alvin Kamara can get through the tackles, but I think in that red zone is where they really try and pound it with Mark Ingram. So they complement each other nicely. I'm starting both of them. No problem, without a doubt.
All right, let's talk about these receivers on the Saints side of the ball. We got Michael Thomas, must start every week. But we have a Cameron Meredith and a Traquan Smith. I'm not rolling with Cameron Meredith. I mean, he's so up and down.
He had 0 snaps last week.
0 targets.
0 targets, I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, this man is irrelevant in this offense completely.
He's a slot, so I mean, I could definitely see him.
He's a sucker is what he is. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, Traquan, definitely like him more, but, you know, Meredith is going to be one of those guys that gets you 5 for 50. You know, he's going to get you 10 points. But Traquan is going to get you 4 for 100 and 2 touchdowns is what he's going to do. So,
well, and just the target share, I mean, Traquan has had more targets than Alvin Kamara the last 2 weeks. So, that being said, I really, really, really am like just on the Traquan train right now, big time, because of his target share and just like you said, his over the top, the yardage he can rack up. But his targets too, he can catch 4, but he could also catch 10 passes a game. He's getting average of 8 to 9 targets a week the last 2 weeks. So anyways, I think though that just brings his value even higher moving forward because they're out of Ted Ginn. I think Cameron Meredith is slowly fizzling out of that offense.
Which he's never even been a part of,
really. He was barely a part of. So it just goes to prove Traquan and that ability in that offense I really like a lot.
Yeah, I really hope he starts rolling. I'm really, you know, if I didn't make that trade for Tyler Boyd, I was really considering talking to you about maybe like a swap for Traquan. But
talking to me is impossible. No, we can never get anywhere.
We can't.
I think I've given up.
You're so hard-headed. It's just ridiculous.
Anywho, let's flip to the Viking side for these receivers. Yeah. We have a Adam Thielen. I mean, jeez, fantasy gold 2.0. We don't even need to stress on that. If you own him, you are in heaven.
Right.
Set the record for most 100-yard games ever. He's just the man. That leads me to Stephon Diggs. What do you think?
I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a big game this week. Nice. Obviously, the Saints have not been good against covering receivers. They just traded for Eli Apple. If he plays, I don't care. I still think Stephon Diggs is way more talented than him. We have, Marshawn Lattimore, probably going to be covering Diggs, who he's been getting blown up. You know, he's had some big plays, but I do think that Diggs gets in the end zone this week. I think it's a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I'm really excited about this game.
I agree. No, without a doubt. And I really like that trade for Eli Apple. I think they needed it. I think they could have probably done better, but I do think that he's a perfect complement because they're all so young, you know? So it just added more, what's that word I'm looking for? Youth, thank you. More youth to that defense and depth in the long run. So I really think that this Saints, with that trade, is just like going to be one of the hardest teams to beat moving forward, in my opinion. So I definitely... I love that. I love that trade. I just want to stress on that a little bit. But to the tight ends, we'll get to the tight ends here. You got a Ben Watson on the Saints coming off, I think, his biggest game of the year. And then you got him versus a Kyle Rudolph, who hasn't lived up to expectations this year.
He hasn't been great, but I'm still rolling with him.
So over the two, though, let's pick one. You like Ben Watson or Kyle Rudolph going into this game? You like Rudolph? Yeah. I am going on the train because Watson's coming off a pretty decent game.
That's what he does.
So he does, so fall off.
That's what he does.
I do like this. I like this matchup, and I'm going. I like Ben Watson in this one. I think he keeps it going.
Yeah, I'll roll with Rudolph over Watson. I just think that, you know, Rudolph's going to get you 10 points. You know he's going to get you 10 points. With Watson, he's going to get you 5 or 20. So, defensively, obviously you're not starting the Saints defense. Vikings defense has been pretty solid the last few weeks, getting 20-plus points. but they're playing the really good Saints offense. So if you can stream another defense, then I would go a different direction than the Vikings defense, especially if Xavier Rhodes and Anthony Barr don't play, which they've been questionable to play all week.
And just really quick on Kyle Rudolph, he hasn't even put up 10 points half the season.
Wow.
So it's risky. I think they're both in the same boat. They both are able to get you because the things where he does, he has almost 20 points, Kyle Rudolph. So it's hit or miss, but I like either one realistically if you had to pick the two out of the tight ends.
Definitely not my favorite either or, but still, yeah.
Yeah, but you said, do you say Vikings D you like more?
Yeah, than the Saints D. But once again, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think they're going to score a decent amount of points.
Did you touch base on Griffin Everson?
No, I haven't.
So Griffin coming back, right? So that's going to be a huge jump for their defense.
They said they're not sure how many snaps he's going to play. He might be limited, yada, yada, yada.
But they've been missing him. They need him back. So with him...
Danielle Hunter, whatever's been balling out, though, on the other side, which it just... upgrades their defense even more with him there. He's a beast. He's one of their best players on their team. So getting him back is huge. And if he does play, I mean, that's going to be a hit on the Saints. But I still think the Saints will score a decent amount of points,
Yeah, I got Saints winning this one, traveling to Minnesota. I
think so, too. I think the Saints get this win because they're pissed off about last year and losing to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
So, I definitely...
It's a payback game.
Yeah.
I'm going Saints. Let's get to the last game of the week.
Monday night
huge
football.
Monday night showdown. Well, not so huge because it'll probably be a
huge
blowout
for the Patriots.
But I don't think it's Patriots versus the Bills. I mean, your Patriots, you're starting basically everybody. I mean, I don't think we need to stress too much on any of these guys, dive deep into any of these guys. Definitely look out for that Gronkowski injury. You don't want to leave him in your lineup. And then Monday come around and he's not playing, which is, it's a tough one. It's a Monday night game. So you're leaving him in there praying for the best. You might be looking at picking up his backup or Charles Clay, exactly. So it'll be interesting to monitor. Definitely look out for that on the Pat side. But let's flip to the Bill side. Are you interested in anyone? I mean, obviously, if Derek Anderson's playing, you're not playing him for anything. I'd rather not start a quarterback. And then you go to the running backs, though. You got a LaShawn McCoy who's banged up but has been practicing. I believe he will pass concussion protocol, which sucks because a lot of people wasted a lot of waiver wires on Chris Ivory. Yeah. But the question is, even if he passes concussion protocol, are they going to play him? Are they going to deploy him? Or it might be a 50-50. They might get Chris Ivory involved a lot.
If you have LaShawn McCoy and you don't have Chris Ivory, you cannot play him. You cannot put him in your lineup because you don't even know how much he's going to play or if he's even going to play.
And who's that, Chris Ivory or LaShawn?
Kind of both. I mean, realistically, if you have both of them, then yeah, definitely throw LaShawn in your lineup. And if he doesn't play, boom, Chris Ivory. But if you have one or the other, I think it's way too risky waiting till Monday night to start him. Unless Kenyon Barner is on the waiver wire. Then you could snag him up and play him over one of those guys. Exactly. But even him, you don't know what he's going to get. He rushed 10 times last week, but only for 36 yards. It's going to be James White all day. Yeah. And Kenyon Barner might get some run and might get a touchdown, especially if they get up big. They might just pound it with Barner. So Barner could be a sleepy pick to do well this year. Or this week, I should say.
And it'll be interesting to see how long Sonny Michel is going to be out for. And could the Pats possibly make some moves before trade deadline and get another running back there?
A.K.A. LaShawn McCoy?
That's what I was thinking. So
I mean, they're in Buffalo. They might just trade for him while there, and he might come home.
He might just hop on the other bus, flight out of there. So that'd be interesting to watch. Obviously, I got Pats all day in this one.
I think Pats' defense is a really, really good play this week. If they're out there on the waiver, you better go get them right now.
We're talking Monday night football matchup, prime time. When does Tom Brady and that Pats ever fail? Barely ever on prime time. Yeah. So I obviously got Pats. Bills, I'm not starting anybody unless you got that Chris Ivory, LaShawn McCoy, because Pats have given up a decent amount of ground yards or whatever you want to call it. But besides that, I got nobody there. Defenses, I don't like Bills. Like you said, Pats are sneaky maybe. Pat's got this at the Bills, and that's all I got.
Yeah, man. I mean, 10-hour podcast.
Jeez, these matchups don't go quick. We got to get through these. So thank you guys for bearing with us. Please follow us on all of our social medias, and it's been a blast, still.
Yeah, always is. Can't wait for this weekend.
Let's go.
Rams, Packers, all day, baby. We'll talk to you guys next week.
That's right. Good luck, everybody.
What did I do? What did I do? The league, huh?